And here is the new documentation and new directory structure. The new documentation is much shorter on the first page, and I'm using subpages to break things up. So let me just do a quick walkthrough of the changes and the new documentation. The main change now to note is almost everything is one level deeper. So I have a fightchurn folder now in my fightchurn top level directory, which was necessary to package because the package needs a folder, to focus on. So this is now the folder where everything is, and this is where the old listings and run churn listing file ended up, if you remember, if you knew how this was before. But anyway, if you don't know how this was before, just ignore that. Now, to give an overview of the documentation, on the first page it gives links to the book and my blog and, well, this Twitch stream and also the YouTube channel. So those are just links. Next, I give my little note saying that these are setup instructions and it can be a pain in the butt. That's like my disclaimer. Just that setting up code can be a pain. Don't blame me. I'm doing my best. Next are the actual setup instructions, which are now divided into a prerequisite setup page and then 3 different code setup pages, one for each method that you might like to use. So just to show you real quick, start here with the prerequisites, and this is going to tell you how to install Python and Postgres, and you need to do a little bit of pre-setup on your database. And that is all shown on this first part of the README. I won't go into it now, but I just want you to know where to find everything that you need. Now, after you do that, you have a choice now of different ways you can set up the code. The command line setup is the new, quick start, if you've never been here before, go this way first setup. So in command line setup, I very briefly, tell you how to open a terminal, create a virtual environment, and install the package. And then you do the things that you need to do to start your Python environment, and run the code, including making a simulation, and lastly, running the code listings. Wonder if these links work. That one works. This is the part where it really shows you how to run some of the code. Also, I should note I've got new instructions here for running multiple listings and different versions of listings using the package. All right, back to the top level. There's also a page of setup instructions for Jupyter Notebook if you already have Jupyter Notebook. So I don't really give you instructions on setting up Jupyter, but a lot of people out there, if you've already done any kind of data science studying or work, you're going to know what the Jupyter Notebook is, and you might already have it. So this is what you have to do to install packages under Jupyter, and then basically I just walk you through what's going to happen if you run this through Jupyter, and kind of show you what it'll look like. All right, that's the Jupyter Notebook setup. Now lastly, there is the developer's IDE setup. This is, I warn people now, the most time-consuming setup, but it's the one you're going to do if you're really going to, work on this code yourself. Like if you're going to use it at your company or your job or a new project that requires you to modify the code, this is pretty much the way to go. And this is the old instructions. So if you knew the old instructions, this is basically it. I started out with just IDE setup because I wrote the book, for developers. So this is the old setup instructions for PyCharm IDE. And that's what you see me using as well. All right, so let's see. Next, actually very important, the last thing I want to explain about this documentation is an errata section for the first printing. And if you've been watching the stream for a few minutes, you saw me mention before that some of the paths have changed. So, and that was required to make the Python package. So there's 2 main changes. In the book, if you want to run code, it says you use this path, fightchurn listings, run churn listing. But under the new packaging, it's shown here, fightchurn, this is the weird part, it's fight-churn / fight churn, one word, run listing. And it's a little bit weird, but if you're used to working with Python packages, you'll recognize the pattern. The first fight churn is my repository, and then fight churn here is the actual Python package that gets released, and it has to be a subfolder of the repository. So that's why you end up with this path. Also, I moved where the data generation lives. I put it under, it used to live alongside the listings under the repository. Now it lives under the fight churn package folder in a subfolder. So I guess it's a sub module or sub package or just a subfolder in the package. I don't know. So this is the main changes from what you'll see in the book, because you'll see these paths a lot of places. Now I also put a page here with the complete details of the errata, meaning the errors. And this is showing you on exactly what pages you need to kind of change how you're reading the book. This is saying exactly how the book should read. And in the next printing of the book, whenever that happens, I guess whenever they've sold out the first printing, they'll make these changes. And what I'm saying now will become old news and deprecated. So that is the overview of, this is the changes showing you the errata in the book, meaning errors in the book that have to be replacing the paths, because the paths, like I said, have changed from the original package. So, how about that? I have now achieved my goal for the summer, published Fight Churn 1.0. Again, I'll show you again here on PyPy. Here we are, 1.0.0. One last thing I'll mention about the documentation is that if you install, this is PyPy, the package website. I don't even know, what is PyPy? It's that package website that pip uses. This is the same documentation homepage here, because this is just the README. However, there's a warning here, warning to PyPy users. The links on this document don't work on PyPy. So if I try to go to the documentation like I just showed you, and I say, let's check out the command line setup, I'm going to be like, WTF, this documentation sucks. But if you read closely, you'll see, warning to PyPy users, internal links don't work on PyPy website. To use the internal links, open it on GitHub, which I will do here. And there you go, we're back to the main, the main branch, and here the links will work. So that concludes my publishing and documentation walkthrough.